Hi, and welcome to... What's the name of your podcast again?
So how was your day?
So how was your day, Malcolm? Or is it... if I say Malcolm, does that ruin it? Do I have to say just how was your day?
No, it's fine. We're good.
So, how was your day?
It was fine. Haven't really done much today.
I think this is why I'm not invited on the podcast.
But today we are here with my girlfriend Shelby.
Hi.
And also my dad.
Hello!
Don. Yeah. My husband.
Old.
In case anybody didn't figure out that whole relational thing.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah, it's not a necessary outcome.
Yes. That's true. That's true. Yeah. But I've talked about you in the video. Never. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Right. So what are we talking about today?
I guess we're talking about the transition from being a kid to an adult.
Oh, I'm going to learn so much.
Why did you not transition from a kid to an adult?
Never transition.
Does that show?
Yeah.
That tracks.
That tracks.
What if I've always been an adult? I was just a mini adult.
That's what a lot of people said about me. They're like, you're always like 40 years old. I mean, now I'm beyond that, but like, yeah, even when I was 20, I was 40. So, yeah.
That's weird.
Well, I've always just been mature.
Mature?
Mature.
If you want to sound it, don't say it like that.
So anyway, yes. So last time we talked about some parenting stuff, and we sort of briefly mentioned the transition time from like being a teenager to being a college student to being adult. I mean, technically you're an adult when you're 18, but like that whole kind of transition period of growing up, gaining more independence, sometimes separating from your parents.
So wait, I wasn't invited onto the podcast about parenting, but I was invited onto the podcast.
You're this is parenting part 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
The sequel. You were a new addition, a new character introduced in the sequel.
Everyone's disappointed with the new character introduced.
Yeah, the second movie is always the bad one, then the third one is good. So
Yeah, if you come back in parenting part 3.
yeah, then it'll be like amazing.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway.
So make it your objective to make this one bad.
Okay.
I'll do that too. I'll mess
accepted.
everything up.
No,
It's okay, you do that anyway.
Oh, thanks.
rude.
Wow, and that's recorded.
Dang.
That's
Yeah.
recorded.
Dang.
Yep.
That's
So
rude.
rude.
That is rude.
So, actually, I think we should change this podcast to relationship.
Welcome to couples therapy.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So anyway, we talked a little bit about. Well, you had actually specifically mentioned COVID for you because that's been a part of like your transition from graduating high school. Now, I mean, Shelby, you graduated in 2020, right? Mm-hmm. And then you graduated in 2021, so you guys were kind of like right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Each of you. I mean, you more so, Shelby. But.
It's kind of interesting, the differences. Like, we've talked a lot in the past about just the differences of us being 1 year apart from stuff, especially around COVID.
Yeah. I mean, because, 2020 was the full-on lockdown. We didn't know what was going on. Everybody's washing their potato chip bags when they got back from the grocery store.
Now Poppy's on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Now the cat, she's playing with the chair.
Yeah, she's sitting in the last chair in here. So.
She wanted to be part of this one.
Yes.
So anyway, I can imagine that kind of also. I mean, you don't have anything to compare it to, like you don't have when we graduated from high school last time, it wasn't like that. Like it was like that's your only reality.
It was like lucky for us to have a graduation. Like we were right on the cusp of not having a graduation at all for our school, at least.
Yeah, you had limited attendance.
I still had a graduation. I mean, I only had like 4 people I could have to come to my graduation, so it was very slim. Sorry, the cat is distracting.
I know
me.
she's being really weird. Well, actually, Malcolm had that too. Even in 2021, we were only allowed to have I forget how many guests we were allowed to have, but
I don't remember.
I think it just ended up being the two of us and then my parents. I think that was it.
I'm surprised that with you graduating 2020, you were even allowed to have an in-person ceremony at all.
Yeah,
It
that's
was-
surprising.
Yeah, it was outside, and everyone had to be separated. That's why there was only 15 people, and it was on the track, so everyone had their
Oh.
own little space. And then all of the guests got to sit in the bleachers of the
Okay.
track, so they were all outside, and everyone had to obviously wear a mask. So
And you said there were 15 students at a time, like graduating.
yeah, every half an hour they would usually do in the increments.
I don't remember what they did for our school for the previous graduating year. I think it might have just been an online.
Oh, I don't remember either.
I think
That
it might
was
have just
most
been an
of them.
online graduation.
I mean, a lot of people did that.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that with COVID, like somehow, like stunted your transition from teenager to adult?
No, I think the year still went past in the same time frame.
Smart ass.
Emotionally.
At least for me, it definitely did.
It did.
Because I was expecting, because like March, I still had 2 months of high school left. So I was still expecting to have more high school. And then I also had a class in high school that still helped you transition into college. And I still didn't learn everything that I needed to learn from that. So kind of March, I still had high school. And then April, they were telling me that, okay, now you just have to get prepared for college and that's it. And you're an adult now, was kind of unexpected. And I still was expected to figure out everything on my own, even though like I wasn't prepared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of difficult.
Seems stressful.
Yes, it was very stressful.
Our school is way too hands-on. Like, it was mandatory that I met with my college counselor, which was funny because I just didn't do it anyways. So therefore, it's like I don't understand what the mandatory meant because there was no punishment for not going, and I still did all of my
You figured it out.
I still did all of my college admissions stuff and submitted it to UT and got in and everything, and I just didn't attend. I also really disliked her. She was very mean to like other people I knew in the school.
Oh,
so
I remember you talking about that.
yeah, so I just didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
And she also like at one point I did try going on to a meeting with her, and she was doing something that like wasn't allowed to be done at the school, which is using the school gym past hours, and she was there with her daughter like using the school gym, and I was like, you do realize that you're literally videoing against what you're allowed to be doing right now.
So what I was thinking when I asked that question was that more so extracurricular, not really school stuff, right? Like I was thinking like one of the things I've often thought for you particularly, Malcolm, was that you didn't get the opportunity like your senior year to go out in the evening, like your buddies pick you up and you guys go someplace. You didn't get to go do things that were the beginning moments of expressing your autonomy, right? Like because
Yeah.
you just were home. So like
I think that course corrected itself when I went to UT because I went to UT with two of my friends, and then like a couple days out of the week after we were done with our classes, we would go out and do something. So I think
that's
that,
right. You had like regular Jeds.
but I was like thinking
Yeah.
like that, but that's a year delayed,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Like that was you the first time kind of experiencing doing that was your freshman year of college as opposed to like your junior or senior year
I
of high school.
actually don't think that impacted me much. I think it was not working that impacted me.
Yes, that would be another one that I was curious about.
So, like, I think, because, I mean, for me, especially with being able to play games all the time from home the entirety during COVID with my friends, I think I got, like, although that was something I already did, I was still able to, like, maintain a strong connection with my friends through that. But with the job, I never really worked up a good work ethic from earlier on. And so then I think it was a lot harder to get into a job then after that. And now I feel fine with it, but
He says as he's unemployed.
yes. But yeah, I don't stand against, or I don't stand with discrimination still, so I still quit my jobs, but I'm at least like not trying to get out of stuff or something like that at work anymore. So
I was never social to begin with, so it never really bugged me, to be honest. I was at home.
You're like, yay, more time to read.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, like, what kind of impact, even if you're not social, the fact that you didn't have a choice, right?
Yeah, I did miss that choice because even though I wasn't social, I did miss not being able to like hang out with my friends at school, and I didn't realize how much I relied on that, even though I didn't hang out with them after school.
I actually kind of agree with that because it was a big thing for us at MV. Like we would, anytime that we had a study break or it was during our lunch or it was the morning or evening or anything like that, my friends and I were either in the studio where I was doing my podcast stuff. Look where that got me. Or we were in the conference room just hanging out or like playing chess or playing games with each other, or rarely doing homework. But but like I've always missed that like since COVID started, because we never really, I think we got to do it like once more, which was kind of like a last hurrah thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of like memories that I had, and my brain just is automatically like, yeah, that happened junior year, because that was sophomore year when it actually happened. But since COVID happened, it just totally like moved to the timeline of when that stuff happened up. I have like next to no recollection of COVID school.
COVID school.
Anytime that I go back and think about high school, I like never think of memories from during COVID. I almost always think of memories that took place in the classes or in between classes or something like that.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because you're going to associate the school with the physical building.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I feel it's interesting because for me to look at people who are graduating high school and people who were entering college, I see what was missed out on. You know what I mean? Like there's almost like I feel so bad because they missed this sort of like rite of passage, but I don't know how much like it affects you since you've never experienced that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you feel it or I don't know.
Yeah, I almost wonder more, Shelby, in your case, it feels like that would be more true because you spent half the year preparing for graduation in school, right? Mm-hmm. And then all the graduation plans got scraped.
Yeah.
Whereas that wasn't your experience.
No, it wasn't.
So I wonder if, your timing of graduation is probably the group that was
I'm
impacted,
sure they were impacted the most.
because,
Yeah.
you had plans for what you were going to do on spring break. You had plans for what you were going to do at graduation. And
Well, and your senior year is like, it's senior year. Like there's all the different things that like.
But his senior year was at home.
Yeah.
So that was his normalcy, right?
Yeah, he expected it to be like that.
But Shelby began the year in the school with like, this is the year, we're seniors, roaming the hallways, shoving kids in the lockers like how you did, Shelby.
I'm sure Shelby did that.
Obviously. But yeah, I mean,
What a strong man.
I did not because I'm a procrastinator, but a lot of people had already bought their prom dresses or their prom outfits too, and they never got
Forgot
to
about
wear them
prom.
and stuff like that. So, I brought my graduation dress around that time, but obviously I still got to wear it. So.
Yeah.
But we just had our graduation in July instead of like late May. So. But yeah, I think a lot of it was very frustrating at the time, but I've obviously gotten over it now. But definitely seeing other people, because there were some schools in 2021 and obviously in 2022 that were able to do things that I was not able to do.
Yeah.
And I got very frustrated during those times, but I've obviously gotten over it now since I'm more of an adult. But yeah.
Yeah, it's hard when you see people. I mean, I even felt a little like disappointed that I didn't go to my graduation for my PhD, because that would be like a whole hooding ceremony and it's like a big deal, and but that was like a choice, sort of. It was can't afford to do it, but
I'm also wondering how like the start of college was, like the actual transition from high school to college was for you, because for me it was just like going back to school but at a new campus and like having to wear a mask, which is for me is like nothing. Like it was just like going back to school basically at a different school, which I'm also used to because I've been to so many different schools.
right.
But like, yeah, we would just get an email like, oh, Toledo's back in the red, so you need to wear a mask for this week. Mm-hmm. That was the only real COVID thing.
Did you have in-person classes when you started?
No, I had all online, which
Wow.
was kind of difficult because a lot of my college classes were self-paced since they were online. So I had to figure out like how being in college is, and also like how self-pacing, like how to do that for myself, because I am a procrastinator, so I was not very good at it at first, but I started to learn. I also didn't get to go to the school that I wanted to go to.
Oh.
I wanted to go to Central Michigan University, but they said that they still had school open, like it was still online school, but you had to stay in the dorms, but you couldn't leave the dorms.
Oh.
And yeah, and so it was just like there was just no
Come
reason.
be a prisoner.
Yeah, there was just no reason. Like you could leave to like go get food and stuff, but that was it. You couldn't like actually hang out with people. So there just wasn't any reason for me to go.
Yeah.
And so then I just went to community college, and I kind of wish I would have been able to do the full 4 years of university.
Yeah.
But it also was cheaper, so
That's true.
in the long run, it actually helped me out.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's rough. Like your first year of college, like you're even if you live at home, you're like still somewhat freer, and you've left all your high school friends behind, so it's like you can decide like, am I the same person? Do I want to meet different kind of people? Like, it's like a really important social time, and so it kind of sucks that you missed that.
Yeah, it was very isolating as well because I didn't know anyone from my college, and I was only I couldn't really hang out with my one best friend because of like social distancing stuff. So I kind of just had to sit in my room all day and do schoolwork. And then my parents were still kind of going to work, so then they wouldn't be home, so I couldn't like in between classes go and see my parents or something.
Right.
So I was kind of just by myself a lot the first 2 years of college.
Oh wow, that sucks. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, outside of COVID, like, how did y'all feel about sort of that?
Do you even feel like you're an adult yet?
Sort of.
I still don't often feel like I'm an adult.
I do now. I think it took me till like I was 42. It was like, I'm no longer playing at house. I am,
For me, it's a sort of, just because, I'm out of school now. So, and automatically my brain's association is adult means you're not in school. So now that I'm not going to college, I'm just...
That makes you feel more of an adult?
Yeah. Because I feel like I don't have any responsibilities other than to myself and the people I choose to feel responsible for, which in my brain is an adult thing. Because I feel like school is just like its own separate entity where, you need to go to school as a kid to learn how to be an adult. Which also feels weird because they don't teach you anything about being an adult, but...
So let me test this theory. You and Shelby have been dating for how long now?
Year and a half almost.
Shelby, you're starting back to school.
Yep.
So you are an adult dating a...
Don't do that. Don't do that.
But she's older than you, so
Yeah.
that helps.
I'm also going to be a junior in college, so.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm old enough to drink alcohol or buy alcohol at all.
Even though you are.
Even though I am.
Yeah.
Even though I'm 21, I still am like, I would love to try this. And I'm like, oh, well, you can actually try it. You don't have to just be like, oh, I would love to.
You still can't rent a car though.
Yeah.
Damn.
Such a weird. That's like such a weird delayed thing.
I would have just assumed it's like how long you've had a license. Because that makes more sense than someone who's
'Cause they practice.
put off getting a license for until they're 25, get a license, then rent a car, and then crash the car.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's all data analytics. It's by the age of 25, the number of accidents that an individual has
Goes
at
way
that
down.
point drops
Yeah.
tremendously. And
Oh, I didn't even
But yeah,
think
because
about
if
that.
you've been driving since you were 16, that's almost 10 years of driving.
That's why I would assume it would be based on how long you've had a
most
license.
people, when they rent a
Yeah.
car, it's not for local use. They're
That's fair.
taking it
Yeah.
away somewhere. So
Maybe it's like it should be like the first time that you renew your license or something.
Yeah. It's not like a lot of people, anyways, that are around our age can even afford to go on trips anyhow, so.
right.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
most people your age can't afford to do much of anything because everything is ridiculously expensive.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is true.
And it's way more of your disposable income than it was
is
for
why-
every previous generation.
This is why it was great going to a rich kid's school because they would just take me on their trips with them.
Oh, I know. You had some of the most awesome. Like we were.
None of which we provided.
We never provided. Like honestly, like we were amazed. We're like, he's living a better life than we are. And then like even when you were growing up and you were doing like the modeling for that toy catalog, and then you would get toys. I'm like, he's even like paying for his own toys.
It was so good that
See,
you were doing that
I've
because
been an adult since I was.
Yeah, you've been
a
working
toddler.
it, man.
your Christmases would have been garbage
Oh,
had
man.
you not been modeling for a toy.
I would have been fine.
But you got some awesome stuff when you were doing that.
You had so much Thomas the Train stuff.
Oh yeah, you did.
Oh, I bet
Yeah.
I love Thomas the Train.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you do today that was something that you did when you were like still in high school but now feels adult? Right? Like that like now there's something different about it, like something has like shifted. Like I can even think about like a job, like
Okay.
a part-time job when you're in high school feels so like
Yeah,
I can bolt anytime I want.
I feel like hanging out with friends and not school and jobs are very but much like that because instead of having to communicate, trying to communicate with your own parents to communicate with other parents to get stuff to go on,
yeah.
you just be like, hey, want to do something? Yeah, sure, I'm free this day.
Yeah.
And also we're not as I don't know. I feel like we're both more free and less free to do stuff all the time.
Well, yeah, because now you have a job, and you have
Sure.
to go to that job more, so you have less time to hang out with your friends.
Well, I don't know. See, that's the thing is I feel like there's somehow less time, even though I spent more time in school than I would.
Yeah, school takes up a lot of time.
Because
and then you have to do
school-
homework.
Yeah, school's
Yeah.
40 hours a week during the weekdays, and then you have to do homework.
Yeah.
I still feel like I got so much more done when I was in school. Like, I was in high school, and then I was in band, and I was in marching band, and I was in an honor band after class as well. And then I had to do football games, and then
It's just because
before
there's
the
a lot of
football
stuff you were
games,
forced to do.
yeah, and before football games, I still had a part-time job, and I ran track and cross country. So I don't know how I did all of that within one day, but
I think another piece with high school that might also make it feel like you don't have as much time today as what you did in high school is that you had built-in friend time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because you're at school with friends. Like, even if you were just seeing them in the hallway in between class or it was at band practice or whatever, you still were having kind of social engagement with people. Whereas now, though oftentimes we end up friends with people we work with or we start dating them,
Yeah, that's true.
Wonder who you're talking about.
No idea. So you can still have that built in, but also a lot of times you don't, right? So you have to set aside unique, specific time for friends that you didn't before because it was built into your schedule.
That's true.
Is there any other things other than like work and hanging out with friends?
I think even school is different for me. Like,
Same here. I don't go to it.
yeah, I mean, that's true. But I feel like me going to even the community college and now starting university next semester, I feel like, one, I obviously get more choices because you get to choose your major, and then from there you get to choose your classes.
Yeah.
But I also it just all feels grown up in general. Like, I have to buy my own supplies, and I have to buy my books, and then I have to drive my adult car to the adult school.
Rather than your kiddie car.
Yeah, right?
I'm just imagining one of those motorized, like, Jeeps or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, the little
It's
things.
what I
The kid,
drove
like
to
the
school.
little
What do
kid
you
in
mean?
the Liberty commercial.
Or like an electric unicycle?
Oh, yeah.
Or one of those, yeah.
Yeah.
Who would ride one of those as an adult?
Who knows?
I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, I get that. I think what can be tough, and I'd be kind of curious to hear what how you feel about this with us, Malcolm, is I lost my train of thought. You pouring your bourbon distracted me. I think there's lots of different ways that people feel prepared for either college or work after high school based on how much their parents gave them freedom when they were a teenager. Because I think there's very like helicoptery parents who even like they'll do stuff for their kids even if the kids are able to do it themselves, and then there's the ones who are like kicking you out of the nest and seeing if you fly instead of hitting the ground.
I remember seeing you really bloom when we extended the length of the chain to your desk,
Right, yeah.
by like 3 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But I mean, you've always been kind of asserting a certain level of independence. Like, I remember when you were in first grade, you decided you wanted to start packing your own lunches. And so you would wake up before me, and which isn't that hard to do, admittedly. And you would go downstairs and you'd pack your whole lunch and you'd be ready to go before I was even ready to, yeah.
Well, I remember even in like 3rd and 4th grade, he'd set his alarm for like 2 hours earlier than school, and I'm like, why are you getting up so early?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I want to get up and be able to relax and enjoy myself before I go to school.
Well, and then you were when we lived in Blacksburg, and that like play area was like right outside our back door.
Oh, I
You
love
decided
that.
you wanted to go out and run, and then do pull-ups on the bars. You're like, I want to get my exercise before school, and so you'd set your alarm early and you'd go out and like run laps, and then
You still do that, don't you?
right every
Oh,
morning.
yeah, 100%. I'm so fit. I get up. Yeah.
You get up.
That's
Mission accomplished.
like half of the mornings I get up. And then,
right.
yeah.
But no, I feel like you always kind of were pushing a little more for that. Like you were always kind of pushing a little bit more rather than just being like, I'm a kid, I'm gonna let you do everything for me.
It's because you guys always let me.
Well, we also were like we talked about last time about how we didn't let you win when we played games.
Yeah.
We were like, he's got to learn sometime.
You were so good though that I had to cheat a lot.
Although there was that one game you used to play with your friends where you just change the rules every time so you won.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the Star
Wars game?
Lego, the game with Lego minifigs that you made? That each part of the minifig counted as a hit point, and so eventually you would just have Darth Vader walking around and Luke Skywalker's head on the.
That's funny.
Because Luke was down to 1 hit point, so it's just his head on the board.
It's a genius Lego game. I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought it was great, and my favorite part was that all of your characters would have like 27 accessories, so each of your characters had 27 hit points, and mine was like had 2 arms, a legs,
A legs.
It's true.
Legs.
On a minifig, it is a legs
That is true.
Oh.
and a head and a torso. So mine all had like 5 hit points, and yours had like a lightsaber, a cape, a hat, a monocle.
There's
Monocle.
only one way to win, and that is to just cheat.
Nice. Anyway, so yeah, so I'd be curious personally, as one of your parents, like how you felt about that kind of, like, did adulthood like smack you in the face?
What if
or
I'm not curious about his answer on this?
you can put your fingers in your ears and sing a song. I don't know.
All right, tell us, Malcolm.
No pressure.
Why is everyone looking at me? Could you just re-ask the question?
I don't know. It was a very long, drawn out.
I think what she was getting at was, how did we do to prepare you for adulthood?
Rate us as parents.
Or, did you feel like you were able to enter into adulthood with some amount of confidence, or has it been anxiety inducing?
Yeah, I think for me it's felt mostly seamless. Like,
Yes.
I mean, I'll high five you, but I'm not sure. I mean, we haven't seen him actually adult for very long. He might be really bad at it.
I was actually just telling Shelby today that I was like, Malcolm's really good at adulting since he met you.
what is that supposed to mean?
Well, in all fairness,
I'm a
you were
little-
barely an adult when you met her.
That's true.
Yeah, and also I'm very organized as like, oh, I plan out the meals and I do and I make a list for grocery shopping and I do all this and that and like I plan out when I'm gonna clean and stuff like that. I think that's kind of what she is. I don't think like
I don't plan anything.
Yeah,
I
you don't
just-
plan, but you follow her plan.
Yes.
You're just going along for the ride.
Yeah.
I will follow structure. I just don't like making structure.
You didn't follow my structure.
No, I just... No, I just follow her structure, I should say. That's it. No, I mean, you guys had already had me doing chores. You guys already had me helped me figure out my, like, finance stuff before. So, I mean...
I have to say that's something I've been really impressed with you. Like you really took to like managing your money well. Like
Yeah.
you save, you decide
That's
what
the
you
thing I have
want.
structure for, is finances.
And that's what he's taught me structure for.
Oh, well, see, perfectly matched.
There you go.
But no, that's
Yep,
been
she
really
likes olives, I
impressive.
don't like olives.
The olive theory.
Yep. But yeah, I've been keeping up to date with all of our finances and stuff and updating it. And the main things that I don't know at all are cars or a house. So like for the most part, I don't know how a lot of like insurance type stuff works because of that. Like I don't have a lot of insurance to deal with. So I think there's going to be a lot of, those aren't niche things, but those are like the next steps, I guess.
Yeah, that's one of those things that is always difficult, I think, as a parent, is understanding like that I know things you don't know, and that you don't just like naturally but you don't like just naturally absorb these things about life through like osmosis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like somebody has to tell you at some point, things, and it's hard.
They do?
Like it's hard to know, like to think like, oh, I know this thing, because it, like it's just part of, and you don't think, oh, where would Malcolm have learned this? In school? Is there a class called Insurance 101? Like,
No.
yeah, so I think that's a difficult thing. Every parent struggles with, because there are certain things that you think, oh, I should teach my kid about finances, and I should, usually the car thing comes up, because you have a license or whatever, and, maybe you talk about like school and stuff, but there's like a bunch of other stuff that you don't necessarily think to talk about. It just doesn't occur to you that, yeah.
I mean, and some of the stuff is just like ever changing as well.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah.
you can teach things, but you can't teach, like if you taught me how your insurance works, when I get insurance, it's going to be different how it works. Like, even if it's just by numbers, it's still...
I mean, the basics would be the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're definitely when it comes to like technology constantly changing, there's probably more things you could teach me about, how to do things with technology for sure. But yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the actually most annoying things about becoming an adult is the level of autonomy that other adults have, which is like creating these trends or something that's popular, anything like that, that just isn't helpful at all. So when you're trying to do research on something, you get all of these random things
Oh.
of things that other people have tried to do, or people have like passed themselves as like knowing what they're talking about.
But they don't really.
Yeah, and today there's a huge guru movement.
Oh yeah.
Like where everyone's a guru. Like you want to
Yeah.
know this? Oh, sign up for my class, $50, and you get
Yeah.
7 lessons on how to better manage your bubblegum collection.
Like nothing feels straightforward on the internet at all when it comes to adulting stuff.
That's really interesting because I think when you're a child, and less as you become a teenager, right? But when you're a child, that's the parents' job to, as best as they can, be the truth tellers and the one that sorts through kind of all the clutter,
the BS.
Yeah, like the clutter of information to give you that we as a household type thinking, we as a household hold these values and this perspective on this, and kind of give you a North Star, so to speak, to aim at. And then that's a really interesting observation, Malcolm, because I bet you it is much more complicated, especially today, because today we have access to like 1,000 times more information per minute than we had in like an entire week when I was growing up, right? Just having a smartphone in your pocket, right? I had to sit around my phone at home waiting for a friend to call so I knew where to meet them, or if they didn't, then we would drive to like 2 or 3 locations hoping to catch them somewhere.
Yeah. And we were just talking about this the other day because we were talking about health stuff. There's so many trendy diets. Diets can't be trendy. Your body remains the same. Your body isn't on a trend, so diets can't be on a trend. Like there can't be a new
people are always trying to find some like new way and promise that it'll help you lose weight or feel better or whatever,
But a trend implies that it's going to go away, right? Like
and that doesn't make any sense.
If the trend is wearing man-prees like I like to do, although wait, that's probably never been a trend. Anyhow, that eventually the idea of a trend is it'll stop being trendy.
Yeah.
Right.
And so to call something a trendy diet is kind of funny because it's implying
it's not gonna. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is like to complicate matters. So you have everybody thinks they're a guru, right? And so some people may be really well-meaning, but they give maybe poor information or whatever because they don't know any better. But then you have the people who are trying to be purposefully misleading.
That's why, like, going back to a previous episode that we talked about, that's why I like my news and information with bias. Don't change the information with bias, but provide the information and list your bias, because there's a strong chance that like if you say that, oh, this food has done wonders for me, is different than saying, oh, this food does wonders to your body.
Oh, so you're saying like knowing it's their opinion or
Yeah. So like, because I think so many people, the reason why there's the whole guru thing is that people are passing off what works for them as like fact.
But sometimes it's not even that. It's like that they're being paid, but like
Yeah, that's that too.
And there's more movement now to get things to be like, oh, if you're being paid, you have to say like, oh, this is a paid sponsorship, but it didn't used to be that clear. And so a celebrity be like, this is amazing, and they don't even use it. But you know,
I just wish we had never found that level of exploitation for money, because I bet you that the main stuff that you need to know for health and the best diets and everything have been proven way before the internet.
Oh, and lots of health leaders will be like, nothing's changed. You know, you need your vegetables, you need fiber, you need protein, like limit carbs and sugar and fat. Like, you know, like they're like, it's the same. I thought you were going to say something.
I was going to say that's your truth. That's not my truth.
What's your truth?
I didn't have anything. That's why I didn't say anything.
Gotcha. I put you on the spot.
Forcing him into
sorry.
it. Gosh.
Man, his truth is bourbon.
So my experience into adulthood was very different. Mine was, I was 17. The day after I graduated high school, I was living on my own on the beach. Like, it was instant. I had no like grace period into it. And it was like, I wake up the next morning and I'm on my way to the beach. I don't have a place to live. I sleep in my car. We happen to get lucky, find a place. And, you know, we stay there for a few weeks. Then the few weeks are up and we can't stay there anymore. And everything about that was like just survival, right?
Yeah.
It was like we had to find a way to survive. Now, we probably weren't the brightest because we decided to try to survive on the beach, which couldn't be more expensive, but was fun. But I had to learn everything instantly.
Yeah.
And I was working 2 or 3 jobs just to make sure that I could pay my rent. Because not paying my rent didn't mean I had, you know, someone was mad at me. Not paying my rent meant I was nowhere to go. I was homeless, right? So, like, to me, you know, when you guys said that this was going to be your topic today, I find this really interesting because my experience into adulthood was like
A crash course.
it was 0 to 60 instantaneously.
Yeah.
But part of what concerns me is with me, that worked out. But I would say as parenting someone making that transition and not trying, like, it's very easy not to do that to you, right? Like that's an easy bar to get over. To improve upon the parenting I experienced.
Improve upon the kicked out of the house.
Yeah,
like,
improving upon that experience is pretty simple. But I'd say this has been the most difficult period of parenting of my life. Like everything else in parenting was easy. This one, I have no clue what I'm doing because it's a balance of trying to respect your autonomy, your decision making, but still having really excellent advice I'd like to offer you. And standing there watching in moments that I think that you could be making a mistake or that you could be making a really big, awesome move that you're not recognizing, and I want to celebrate it as it's happening, right? Like all of these things, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Like I don't know how to parent you well in that space. And it's been really, really fascinating and difficult.
Yeah, I know. I had to make deliberate decisions. Whereas in the past, I feel like a lot of parenting was like instinct, like based on instinct, which was grounded in the values that we had and we had discussed in general about like how we wanted to raise you.
Don't stick a fork in that. Don't.
Well, I mean, there's that. But I think, I honestly think that a lot of parents kind of go on instinct in certain situations and they think everybody thinks their instinct is good, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times your instinct is based on, oh, this was a child that I need to guide through everything. But now, okay, now they're becoming an adult and you need to back off. And parents don't, I don't even think like a lot of parents do like throughout the rest of their entire lives. Like,
Back off.
Back off. Yeah. Like just stop parenting your adult children or whatever. And so I had to make a very deliberate decision in multiple instances to go, I'm not going to say anything about that. Even if I thought you were like making a mistake, it was nothing that was going to be earth shattering and ruin your life. And I didn't want to be contrarian. I don't want to be constantly negative to you to the point where you never want to tell me anything. And then the other thing was like, well, that just because I don't think this is a good decision doesn't mean it's not a good decision. So I'm just
now I'm curious. I want to know all of your objections now.
No,
All the bad decisions.
It's not so much. Well,
Yeah,
I can give you one, but I already told you. Like, you currently don't have a job.
Yeah.
Right? And you wanted to give a notice. And I was like, line up another job before you give a notice. And you're like, nah, it'll be fine. And that would be one. And we've already had this conversation, right? But I respected that you are good at saving your money. You're good at, so you know what you can afford to do. And that's where I have to step back and go, okay, he's got it. He'll figure it out. And if this is a stumble, we're actually grateful that you're in a place where if you did have a stumble over this, lesson learned, and you're not going to crash and burn, we wouldn't let you, right?
Yeah, you're not gonna like get kicked out of an apartment or.
So that would be one example, and I honestly, again, I think that's minor, right? But that's an example. But for me, to kind of a little bit to what Mom was saying, but since I unfortunately, and I think sometimes fortunately, I parent out of the trauma of my abusive childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I felt completely abandoned as soon as I graduated, and it was like, all right, out of the nest, see ya. That was my entry into adulthood. I don't know what the pop was at the bottom. I should have been more like
shoulder again.
It was just better than a splat, I guess.
Yeah, that was it. Your shoulder was popping out of joint.
So for me, the anxiety that really builds up in me is that when I step back and let you experience adulthood as an autonomous human being making your own decisions, I then immediately begin to fear that you're going to be like, I have no support system because I didn't have one at all. So it's like, I don't know how to be a support system as well as...
Well, living in your house, so that's numero uno.
Sure, but anyhow, I think that's one of the areas that I find complicated. Like, I don't know how much to be there as your dad, and then how much to not be there as your dad supporting you making whatever decisions.
Yeah.
And it's very complicated. How has that been for you? Like, so I think actually what's interesting, and Shelby, I think you would have some really fascinating looks too on this, is for Malcolm, how does it feel to still be living at home, never having moved out, but living at home and trying to, become more and more autonomous as an adult? And then maybe even Shelby, how does it feel for you to be living in someone else's home, and not just someone else's home, but your partner's parents' home, as you're trying to experience becoming an adult? I imagine that's extraordinarily complicated, and I would argue probably more and more common today than it has been in a very long time,
Yeah,
because of the cost of living is so excruciatingly high.
Right.
Yeah, we've tried looking for places before, and it's just, and it's crazy to think that Toledo is cheaper.
Yeah, Toledo's cheaper. Yeah.
Than most.
One of the cheapest places in the country.
Yeah.
And it's still like crazy. Like just no relaxation money, I guess is the way to put it. I don't know, like your own personal savings, really.
Discretionary money
Yeah,
is usually what
it's
they
like
say.
going back to having an allowance when I was when I was in like middle school or high school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Well, moving out in general was a lot more difficult than I thought it was
Because
going
that's
to
true.
be.
You lived out, you had an apartment with a friend, so you actually were out altogether.
Yeah. I think living by myself was kind of a very crash and burn situation that I had. Just because I moved out for school, and then I realized I really couldn't afford school that much. So there really wasn't any point in me moving out at that point. But I was still trying to go to school. And then my car stopped working. So then I had to start saving up for a new car while paying rent and trying to buy groceries. And then when our job just isn't open for the month of January, that just like is where everything just went down, and I had to figure out what I was going to do. But I think living here is a more than ideal situation, more than maybe some other people's spouses or partners' houses, or their parents' house, just because you guys are a lot more welcoming and a lot more considerate than a lot of other people that I've known to be their spouse's parents. So it's a lot easier. But I know some people where like the mother of their boyfriend didn't like them very much, or I feel like that would be a much more bad situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be
So
tough.
I think I've gotten a good end of the stick for sure, but
But it's still a stick that I got.
Well,
No,
I'm glad to hear that.
It was also interesting to think about because it just like, even though I knew it was going to be okay for her to stay here and that it was okay for me to stay here in my 20s, it's been made into such a socially taboo thing
Oh, yeah.
that I feel like we've had this conversation before, that we just feel like we're almost doing something wrong as adults.
I think it's going to go away though, because nobody can afford. Nobody can afford to.
Oh yeah, I'm hearing of all sorts of people, whether that's from my school or my friends' friends, who are like moving back to their parents' houses after they graduate because they just.
Yeah, I think in the 40s and 50s, when the housing market and the job market were aligned pretty well, that people imagined that if you stayed at home, there was something wrong with you. Like, why would you stay at home when you could easily get a job? And not just easily in theory, but easily in reality. Get a job, and that job would provide enough for you to have a car, to have a house, and to have discretionary money.
Yeah.
And that remained true and slowly diminished through probably the late 70s, early 80s. And even in the 80s and 90s, that was still to some degree true, but it was really shrinking. And now we're at a place where that is no longer the reality. You can't graduate high school and go and get a job in your town that immediately pays for a house, pays for a car, allows you discretionary spending and enough money that you could actually, one of the two partners, stay home, raise kids in that house, all on this one income right out of high school.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, as most things that are considered to be frowned upon or wrong or social absurdities, whatever it might be, that takes longer to catch up.
Yeah.
And so
To the reality.
But prior to the 40s, you had multi-generational houses.
Yeah.
Like in the 30s and 20s, it was parents, grandparents, and grandkids all in the same house, and piled in.
That's
and
how
often,
my mom's was.
Right.
They even had cousins in there.
Yep. And honestly, I think that there's something really profoundly beautiful about that. Now, we've all become used to our own space and having lots of elbow room, and we can do whatever we want. But I think the social benefit of creating a financial well-being for someone to be able to stay with parents or with relatives, and then also to have family modeled like for me, it's wonderful. I didn't get family modeled growing up, right? And so to be in a space where I get extended time having family modeled in my household is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's also just like there's with how it is right now, there's no way I could have been able to go to school and save up for a car to go to school for a new one.
Yeah.
And now I can this semester go to school and have a car to go to school. Yeah. Which will be very nice. But I definitely thought it was going to be a lot cheaper living and being able to work just one part-time job and living on my own than it actually was.
Yeah, now you need to, like, if you wanted to try and do the stereotypical college living, like on campus and doing full-time school and stuff like
You
that,
have to have parent support, really.
you have to have parent support, or you need to, on top,
Take a ton of debt.
there's some people that will take a ton of debt, but I've also known a ton of people at UT that would just have a full-time job overnight and then do school during the day.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so they'll work 40 hours and they'll have a 16, 18 credit.
Yeah, that's something I think a lot
Yeah.
of people that come from more affluent homes don't realize, like, because they, even like middle class, or at least what middle class used to be, you know, a lot of times the parents could afford to pay for a certain amount of school and the kid didn't have to get a job, and like that was it, and that was kind of normal. I don't think people realize how many college students like work at least 20 hours a week while they're going to school.
Yeah.
Just to try to, and then they still have debt, you know. But yeah. So anyway, we've talked a long time.
We're at an hour again.
Yes.
For parenting.
Yes. Well, it's because there's so much to say, really.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of things we didn't even really get to.
Imagine when you do the episode on time management.
We already did that one.
Did it last an hour?
No.
No.
But apparently we learned no lessons from it. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, you know, we're obviously all four of us live here, so we're gonna just keep learning about each other and learning how to manage this transition and everything. And quite frankly, I love having you here, so I'm not in any rush for you.
Me too.
I mean, the cat may be a big part of that, because we love having her here. But yeah, so anyway, so thank you, Don and Shelby, for joining us for our podcast today.
Yes.
No problem.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Well,
Well,
time to go.